Well, it wasn't too long ago we had a conversation with the chairman of the Illinois GOP, and he joins us again in studio. Don Tracy, thanks for taking time with us this morning. How you been?
Glad to be here, Greg.
Absolutely. So let's get right into it with the limited time we have for Morning Drive Radio. You just got back from California. Talk about that a bit.
Well, it was a long trip. It's kind of hard to get there from Springfield, Illinois. On the way back, my flight into Springfield was canceled, so I spent an extra night, overnight, and that was in Chicago. And then I couldn't get home on the planes. They were all booked the next day, so I had to take the train home. But it was really a really good meeting. The RNC meetings are really helpful because it's a lot. You get a chance to work with state chairmen from all over the country and the RNC reps, and they provide a lot of really good information. And this meeting in particular was critically important because of the election of the RNC chair.
And you were there to cast your vote, and others from Illinois as well, I take it, were there.
Right.
So talk about who those individuals were and how did the votes come out from Illinois?
Well, each state has 3 voting members, the state chairman and 2 reps.
Don't mind me. Go ahead and keep talking. I'm just going to move this microphone just a little bit.
The other 2 reps are Richard Porter and Demetra DeMonte. And so there's 168 voters altogether, 3 from each state, 150, and then a number of people from the territories. And the vote was, I believe, 111 in favor of Rana, 55 in favor of Harmeet Dillon, and 4 votes from Mike Lindell.
Mike Lindell was in the running.
He was, and he was at the meeting, and I saw and talked to him several times. So he was actively campaigning.
Interesting. So Harmeet Dillon not getting that spot for the national GOP chair, going to Ronna McDaniel for a 4th term. What was it about Ronna that you thought she should have another term?
Well, I've had the opportunity over the past 2 years to go to a number of RNC meetings, and I met Ronna. She came and actually to Springfield about a year and a half ago to do a fundraiser for the Illinois Republican Party. She has been, I think, a really strong infrastructure leader. What a lot of people don't realize about the RNC is that it does not select candidates. It does not run campaigns. It builds party infrastructure. Like data, it runs the convention. It provides a lot of help for state party, including a lot of training opportunities for executive directors and state chairmen, and that's what these meetings are about to a large extent. They're also doing a lot in election integrity, which is something they weren't able to do for almost 40 years due to a consent decree entered by a New Jersey judge over one incident in New Jersey 45 years ago, and then that judge continued that consent decree every 10 years, and that just came off, and Ronna worked to get it off, and for the 2020 election. So they haven't been able to do election integrity, and now they are, and they're involved in, I think, 100 lawsuits. Most of which are all about election integrity. So it's really an important infrastructure support for candidates in their campaigns, and she's good at it. She was, she started out at the precinct level. She became Michigan state chair. She was the reason why, and probably more than anybody else, why Trump won Michigan in 2016, which was critical to his winning the presidency. I know she was begging people to come in, the Trump people to come into Michigan. She finally convinced them to last minute, and I think Trump won Michigan by 11,000 votes. So she's really, really good horse, and this is no time to switch horses midstream, I think, on the verge of a presidential election when the RNC is really, really important. I want to say Harmeet Dillon, though, was a good candidate, and competition is good. I think this race probably made Ronna an even stronger leader. Harmeet has been in the RNC herself 6 years, same as Ronna. She is a lawyer, a really great election lawyer. She's a paid lawyer for the RNC and has several important cases, including one against big tech, against Google for blocking allegedly our Republican fundraising emails. So it was a really interesting experience. I think it helped the party to have this race, but now I hope we can unify. The other thing about Ronna is she ran a very a non-negative campaign. Whereas Harmeet's campaign was pretty negative, and I think kind of violated the 11th commandment at times. And
which is, for people who don't know,
thou shalt not speak ill against thy fellow Republican. And Ronna chose not to go negative, thinking that if she did win, it was, there's going to be a challenge unifying the party, and she'd be in a better position to unify the party if she didn't go negative, and she didn't.
We're talking with Don Tracy. He is the chairman of the Illinois Republican Party, fresh off his trip over to Southern California, where he took part in the RNC's election of the next RNC chairman, which is Ronna McDaniel. She is continuing in a fourth term, but she even told Fox News over the weekend that this will be her final term, and then she'll hand over the gavel to whoever's next. Surely Don will have conversations about who that should be in the future. But I do want to get your response. Last time we had you on, you talked about some committees you were looking to formulate, and you criticized the top of the ticket in the 2022 election. I talked with State Senator Darren Bailey afterwards, and he reacted saying that you need to step down immediately. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I didn't perceive my own comments or intend to criticize the top of the ticket. I was commenting on the impact of the top of the ticket on the other races. It was not a good election for Illinois, and a lot of that was due, maybe most of it, the great majority of it, due to the top of the ticket did not perform well. If top of the ticket, which would have been Senator Bailey, had lost by only 2 or 3 points, I think we would have won a Supreme Court justice race, 1 or 2 congressional races, and several state house races, as well as the DuPage County Board chair and other county board seats. But I don't mean to be critical of. I didn't intend to be critical of Senator Bailey either, because he was a genuine a candidate, in it for the right reasons, had strong regional support. He just wasn't electable statewide because 70% of the voters in the general election are within the Chicago media market. And Darren played well in rural Illinois. Very well in rural Illinois, but not so well in Chicago or the suburbs, or even some of the larger downstate cities. I wish Senator Bailey well. I don't know what he's going to run for next, if he is going to run. But I'm not. I'm certainly not. I'm not resigning. I was reelected for 4 years last August unanimously.
So Don Tracy with us. We've got just about 2 or 3 minutes here. Let's just say 2 minutes. The Illinois State House, they're going to be back in session. The House is today. The Senate was back last week for a few days. They just gave themselves a raise. You've got supermajorities of Democrats in both chambers. What relevance can the Republican Party have in the state of Illinois at the State House?
Well, I think everybody, even Democrats, should want a two-party state. It's, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. We've seen that in my tenure, 2 years as state chair. I think there have been 7 or so Democrat legislators indicted, including the Speaker of the House, former Speaker of the House, Mike Madigan. So we need to have, it's in everybody's interest to have a stronger Republican Party. We're going to we're working on that every day. The Democrats, legislators, they seem emboldened by their fall election and the fact that Pritzker has all this money to spend on Democrat races up and down the ballot, and so they vote themselves a raise as soon as they got elected. I don't recall any of them campaigning that they were going to on the issue of raising legislative pay. They're now talking again about the progressive tax, going after a push for the progressive tax again. I don't recall any of them campaigning on that. They're overplaying their hand, I think, and hopefully the voters will recognize that and return Illinois to a two-party state next election.
Don Tracy, I imagine this is not going to be the last conversation we have, so greatly appreciate you coming in. Always good to see you, and we'll talk again soon,
Okay.
All right?
Thanks, Greg.
It is Springfield's Morning News on WMAY, and we've got to wrap this puppy